Yeah, yeah, I think that.
All right, good day, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So, as usual, I'm bringing on, yes, another new guest co-host. I'm never going to run out of guest co-hosts, especially when I have amazing agencies like sending me amazing people. Shout out to Interview Valet. You guys rock. I'm very excited, ladies and gentlemen, to rock the mics today with your new guest co-host because she can whoop my butt in hiking. I've done a few 14ers in my day. You guys are going to hear something a little bit more impressive or a lot.
A little bit.
And possibly, I don't know, now a female world record holder. She knows her way around the finance circuit, knows her way around helping other people in their businesses, knows how to not quit, also knows how to beat death. All you're going to learn about on today's show. I love her brand. Her name, just to get it all going here, is Jenn Drummond. And she is an upcoming author because I love authors. I've had lots of authors on my show. And again, it's quit proof. Quit proof, people. All right. So again, she doesn't know how to quit. Jenn Drummond, welcome to the show.
Hey. Thanks for having me today.
So love the brand. Love the book.
Thank you.
Let's just dive in. I mean, so you like to hike.
I like hiking a little bit.
A little
Definitely
bit.
like hiking in cold weather.
Oh yeah, that too.
Dehydrated food and no bathrooms. It's my favorite way to spend my free time.
So I don't know. Did they tell you who I was and my crazy background?
No, let's get into that. Tell me your background and craziness.
Okay. Well, one, you'll love my artwork. The ring light's not going to drown it out, but that is backcountry ski art. And it states,
all right,
everything will kill you. So choose something fun. So
there you go. I like that. I'm borrowing that one.
Lived in Colorado, backcountry. My old roommates were mountaineers. And the reason why I got to meet those guys was I left the corporate world years ago, moved out west, and decided, I don't know what I'm going to do the rest of my life. I'm going to go get hired onto a elite hotshot crew and fight some of the biggest wildfires in our country.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then I wrote a book about it. So I didn't plan on writing a book. I mean, so I did that back in 2010, 2011. That lifestyle is hiking in the mountains. I don't think we ever went above 9,000. You don't shower for 2 weeks. You're living in the woods. If they don't get you proper food resupply, you always have at least 2 MREs stripped down nice in your pack. The not showering thing is very rustic. I grew out one hell of a beard.
Yes.
The wifey will not want that ever coming back, she says. So I'm allowed to scruff. So happy wife, happy life. But yeah, I got to hike everywhere for a living and get paid for it. And but have some very dangerous, life-changing experiences. And then it got me hooked into hiking even more. And then when I moved to Colorado, started hiking 14ers and then skiing in the backcountry and all that stuff. But I never hit 7-second summits. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know what she's talking about. You don't. What are the 7-second summits?
I didn't either when I signed up. Okay, I'll be fair, everybody.
Wait, hold on. You didn't know when you signed up?
No, because it started with me climbing a mountain called Ama de Blanc. I was turning 40. I asked my friends like their favorite mountain in the whole world. They said Ama de Blanc, hands down. I'm training for that mountain, but COVID hit the world. So now I'm a homeschool teacher. And then my son was frustrated and it's like, blah, blah, blah. And I said, listen, buddy, we do hard things. You've got this. And he looks at me and he goes, we do hard things. Why are you climbing a mountain called I'm a Dumb Blonde instead of a real mountain like Mount Everest? And I said, Ama de Blanc, not I'm a Dumb Blonde. Okay.
Hold on. How old is somebody says this?
Yeah, he's like 9. Like he literally thought the entire time I was saying I'm a dumb blonde instead of Ama de Blanc.
Oh, I love the innocence of children. It's
so sweet.
Yeah,
so
it's lovely.
Yeah. So then I'm like, finish your homework. We'll look at Everest. So he finished his homework and we looked at Everest. And mind you, like I got into a car wreck like 2 years before this. So my whole thing is I need to live while I'm alive. And so Everest would definitely be living. Maybe I should do Everest. I called the coach. By the end of the week, I was climbing now Ama de Blanc and Everest. And then the coach told me, well, you need to order this book to help you with your training. So I ordered the book, and in the front of the book, a lady got a Guinness World Record. And I was feeling like a crappy mom. My kids hated me. I was homeschooling, teaching, you know, all the things that we couldn't do in that time frame. And I told the coach, I'm like, if I would have got a Guinness World Record, my kids would think I'm cool. And I'm the most uncool mom they know right now. And the coach goes, well, I'll think of something. And I said, okay, fine, but I'm not growing pumpkins or speed eating hot dogs.
No.
So whatever, right?
There's enough people doing that.
There's enough people doing that. I don't need to compete. So he called me a few weeks later and he's like, Jenn, I got this perfect record for you. I totally forgot about the conversation. So I'm like, okay. He's like, I think you should be the first female to climb the 7-second summits. I'm like, what are the 7? I don't even want to, what are you talking about?
We got to screen share this while keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. So he's like, they're the second highest point on each continent. They haven't been done by a female before. They've only been done by one male. And they're harder than the first 7. So the people that are into your industry will actually think you're like good at what you're doing because it's a credible pursuit. I said, okay. And he goes, and let's be honest, 7 continents, 7 mountains, 7 children. It's a jackpot. I think this goal was set up for you.
I thought hearing about, here's something fun about me. My wife and I, when we met, she goes, you know, once we started dating, getting serious, we're weird. You have 7 children. We have 0. Cause she's like,
I respect that.
She goes, please tell me you're not into kids. I was like, well, yeah, that's not normal from a girl that I'm seeing. Right. Actually, I'm not. I like being the cool uncle. Like, you know, you play with them, do the cool uncle things. And then when you get annoying, I throw you back. And she goes, you just moved up on the hot point scale. I was like, oh man, I might have found something here. I don't know. So just a fun thing on that for you. Just because you have 7 children.
I have 7 children.
That's a summit in itself.
It's harder. It's harder than the mountains. If anybody wants the truth.
And
it's
homeschooling 7 children during a lockdown.
Yeah.
Oh,
I hated myself. Yep. Totally. Oh. And like, let's just go into this a little bit more to paint a picture for the audience. I couldn't have kids naturally. Like we tried the pregnancy thing and it just wouldn't work. So then I went to get fertility assistance and I have all this shame and guilt. Like the one thing a female's designed to do, my body's not capable of doing, right? So I have all these stories that I'm writing about myself that are not helping. The fertility clinic runs me through a few different protocol. All of them fail. And then finally they develop this chemical cocktail that turns me into a hen and I have 28 eggs.
I'm like, you're a super breeder. I mean,
oh yeah. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, here we are. Move over. I've got eggs.
They like unlocked like the final key or something. I don't know.
Right. The princess is in this castle. You're good.
Okay.
So then I got 28 eggs, which then they decided to fertilize, and 14 of the 28 became fertilized embryos. And then all of a sudden I had this thing of, well, what do you do with the embryos? And you can either use them, donate them, or destroy them. Well, with how much I struggled to get my first child, destroying them was like, oh my God, I can't do that. Are you kidding me? I'll lose the one kid I have. And then donating them, I didn't want my whole life being, are you my kid? Are you my kid? Are you my kid?
I've always wondered about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just use them. Like using them feels good to me. The doctor said I'd get 3, maybe 4. Friends, I was the person in high school that you would say will never have kids. Like when we see you at the 20-year reunion,
I just kept children.
Saying it. Yeah. You kept saying it. I show up now with 7. Like they're like, what? Like, yeah. That's
hold on. We got to pause here. So, okay. So they're all basically on standby. And then you just start.
Hold. They're waiting their turn.
Pardon the weapon reference, but like, do you start reloading every 9 months, or?
Yeah. Like for me, because of course I don't watch television, and the one television series I decided to watch was this show called Alias, which at the time had this fertility clinic that got hacked into, and then they started using these embryos for like cloning things. And every time I went to bed, I was like having nightmares. So the minute I had a kid and got cleared, I would go in and get the next reload, right? So I have 7 kids in 6 years and 2 months because one set was twins. And I just now am realizing that right now I have a 16-year-old, my youngest are 10. There will be a time when my 19-year-old is my oldest and I'll have 13-year-olds as my youngest.
That's a
So
lot.
that's a lot of teens.
Yeah. Well, thanks to your background, it sounds like you got your act together.
Yeah.
In more ways than one. So
Yeah.
I think you could pull it off.
We're pulling it off.
7
friends.
teenagers. I've heard the rumors. It sounds a little daunting.
I think it's going to be a lot. I think I'm going to be like, you know me now. You might know me in the future as on a TV reality series of the lady that went crazy with a whole bunch of teens. We don't know.
Well, I mean, what was that viral? See, I don't like a lot of television either, but like my wife, I've never had cable ever. Actually, when I met my wife, well, when we were dating, my old apartment, I'd come back from that life of living in the woods and hiking, and I kept a pretty simple life. But when I left the corporate life, I got rid of my townhouse, sold everything, fit my life in a car. So I was pretty scaled down. It's very freeing, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, from a hiking standpoint, you got to minimize your gear, but yet again, maximize your gear depending on the severity of what you're doing. So you got to make sure you got ultralight equipment. I mean, dude, my rock climbing gear is sick. I mean, all the carabiners and draws, and dude, you want ultralight stuff, not cheap, but the right gear. Yeah. When she met me, she goes, where's your couch? I'm like, well, what do I need a couch for? I live alone. She's like, well, where's the TV? I'm like, ergo, no couch. And she goes, well, what when you unplug from work? I was like, oh, that computer monitor is also a TV. So I'll just like log into the free Hulu on the internet. And then I'll watch like one show like every couple of weeks or a movie or something like that, just change things up. And she goes, what are you doing? I'm like, mountain biking, hiking.
Yes.
I was a CrossFit trainer in my free time. So I'm at the gym a lot, when I'm not at my full-time gig. I'm like, this is before I started my company. So it's like, yeah, I have other things to do. I love it. Well, it's like you, it's like, well, hey, I've got 7 kids.
Yep.
And I'm training to hike a whole lot of dangerous mountains. I don't need television.
I don't need television. I do not have time for television. I barely have time for training for these mountains.
We just dropped we could probably stop talking now because I care so much about health, business, and lifestyle. That is such a huge life coaching moment for so many people. Unplugging.
Yes.
We could pause on that right now, right? I mean, how long have you been, quote, for the most part, relatively unplugged?
I moved to Park City, Utah in 2015.
Okay.
And we haven't had a TV since we moved here.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, again, you're also in Utah. So my wife and I keep booking. We're big mountain skiers and backcountry. We did our wedding was a heli skiing wedding in Banff. So I mean, it gives you an idea of our style. And people are like, wait, hold on. What? You're going to go get married in a helicopter? I'm like, well, no. I asked about that. Apparently it's too much logistics. You can't just have a wedding on a remote mountaintop. Like literally the heli operation just like paused on the phone and he goes, wait, you're serious? I was like, yeah, what's involved? He goes, ain't happening, bro.
That's awesome.
But anyway, we were just out in Park City, not this past season, but the season before. So,
okay. I like it.
The only negative feedback, I love Utah because when I was out west, dude, I was canyoning out there. I was rock climbing. I was like, my wife goes, well, we've been skiing all day. I can't get a glass of wine.
No, not unless you order food. Not unless you order food.
Not even, actually, when we were there, it was like a slopeside lodge. We were like out in the middle of the mountain, and I forget the one we stopped at, and you couldn't get wine. And I was like, well, yeah, we're in Utah. She goes, well, this is unacceptable.
I love her.
I was like, that's the negative? All this beauty and majestic great outdoors.
Right.
You're pissed because
endless slopes. Yes.
You're pissed because we went to this wonderful, majestic ski mountain and you can't get a glass of wine. Okay, good to know. Check. I
I
got that.
love
I
her.
got that registered. So I figured you'd
Yeah,
appreciate that. I'm not sure if you
I
have any
do.
other friends or colleagues that have ever mentioned something like that. So
Never
um,
do I hear about that ever.
no, no. So well now, so let's do another quick rewind. I don't want to
Yep.
skirt over the whole, beating death thing. Uh,
Right.
was
Right.
that before Utah or after Utah?
After Utah.
Okay.
So I did this thing that I'm sure all of us can relate to. I moved to Utah
Mhm.
in January of 2015. If you ever want to move to a new town, move in January,
Mm.
because then all the parent participation things are already taken. So I'm not a room mom.
You
I'm
talk about
not
the
a
PTA
soccer.
thing?
Yeah, all that
Yeah.
stuff, that's already
Yeah.
been established. That's established in the fall. So
Okay.
I'm not a room mom. I'm not a soccer coach.
It's a good
I
idea.
am nothing. And I know nobody. So I brought my little humans to school. And then I had the whole day till they came home to myself to play, explore, experience all those wonderful things.
I like it.
Somehow, even though I loved it, was like my favorite season of life was this January of 2015 till the next fall. You have 7 kids, you are like
Wow.
tentacles into a community within 6 months, no problem, right? So by the fall, all of a sudden I was all these things again. And I realized, oh man, I wish I did less because I really liked my unplugged
Uh-huh.
time versus having every moment donated to something or someone else. Um, I get into a car wreck in 2018. And I feel like I had to have a car wreck because I was just
All right.
going through the
I got to
motions of
pause on
life.
that. I feel like I just really needed a car wreck, man.
I needed
I
one.
let's say life's just not really, we're not there yet.
There
There we
No, but
go.
like,
Check. Okay.
check. I needed one because I don't know if something else would have woke me up. And the
Mm,
car wreck woke me up. And it woke me up to the standpoint of we get one life. We do not get to choose when we die, but we get to choose how we live. And so you better start choosing how you want to live because that ticket out of here, you have no control over. And all of a sudden I looked at my life and it's like, if I would have died today, there was a ton of things I wanted to see, explore, do, become, try, fail at, figure out, whatever. And I kept selling myself on the idea when my kids launch, I'll do it. When I get
mm.
my kids to college, then I'll come back to me. And I think a lot of us do this if then. When that happens, then. When this happens, then. Instead of just being, I have today. What can I do today that moves me towards things that make me happy, thrilled, excited, all these deals? And so that car accident really woke me up and said, okay, I can be a mom and I can do things that set my heart on fire. And for me, it's outside. It's backcountry skiing, it's hiking, it's mountaineering, it's doing all these big deals. And I gave myself permission to write a new story and allow that to fit into my life while I was doing my other responsibilities.
Well, what I love what we're talking about right now here is that, okay, 7 children. I can't get off of that one. So it's like that alone. People are like, oh, I can never do that. I'm a parent and I've got kids. You've got kids with like kids squared. I mean, it's
Right.
so right there, a lot of my friends and colleagues I'll hear that from. And I remind them the same thing. And that what the class, I can't say that. I can't say it, Jen, because they're like, well, yeah, it's easy for you to say, you and Kristen don't have kids. So you can go and, plan all these amazing trips. I'm like, yeah, but we both have businesses to run. No offense. I was like, that takes a lot too. So, my wife is a equine horse veterinary doctor and doctor of chiropractic and co-founded her practice 9 years ago. I was like, they might be a little bit busy, but I mean, so it's funny what you just said, set your heart on fire. That's why I use fire in all my logos. Live the Fuel is fire because it was born from the firefighting experience. It just, I literally have a phoenix tattooed on my back because after firefighting, because I felt like I was born again, just like a phoenix, right through the fire. And now, granted, I remind people of my book because just so you know, my book's called "So You Want to Be a Hot Shot," and there's no punctuation at the end because, well, is it meant to be exclamatory or more of a question? So I'm trying to inspire and motivate people, kind of like what you're doing. And it's like, guys, like when we were dating, I think we were finally engaged. She's like, oh, there's this equine conference coming up because she's a doctor. They have to do like CEU credits and stuff. And she's like, we're adventurous. Maybe we should start planning my work trips to be like trips. Like I was like, okay. She's like, well, there's an equine conference in South Africa. I was like, well, how does one do a horse conference in South Africa? She's like, well, you go on, it's a safari. So she's like, we could just book 2 weeks. She's like, really, 1 week is just the classes, but you go on safari every morning and every sunset. And I was like, yeah, that sounds freaking awesome. Yeah.
South Africa's amazing. Did you go?
Oh yeah, we totally went. Oh yeah, we rocked.
Totally went. Yeah, I went there this year with my twin daughters. It was absolutely amazing. One place I could go in the whole world. It's there again.
Right. So what we did was I found out one of her because she's a smart cookie. She went to Cornell University and UPenn. So one of her girlfriends came from a lot of money, and a Grammy from England or originally from, I don't know. This woman has like properties all over the world, and she had a flat in Cape Town. So she's like, oh, well, why don't you just go stay there? It's not that time of year. We're like, okay. So the first week we went ahead of time just to go do all the adventurous stuff. And then the second week popped up to the safari site, and they had the whole lodge rented out just for this equine conference. And we're on safari every single day for a week. It was like, this is my kind of business travel. And at first she wasn't going to do it. And I said, well, kind of not your words have set your heart on fire. But I was like, why? And she's like, her parents have their act together. I was like, man, my parents haven't even made it there yet. And I was like, more reason to go. Let's show them that you don't need to, to plan everything and wait until you're retired to do these amazing trips. And because I was like, we can die tomorrow. And there was fires I was on that were a little sketchy. And I was like, I might not be here. Let's do this. And it shouldn't take a life-threatening situation to get us to think like that. Unfortunately for you, it did. And even for me, it did. So like, how do you get people around that? Besides writing a book that's coming out in January, but I mean.
Yeah, well, the book helps. I hope sharing my story keeps somebody else from living my story, right? Like, I don't want everybody to go climb up a whole bunch of crazy mountains to find themselves or feel alive. I want them to know what that is inside of them and not have to have the car wreck or not have to have that thing that says, oh, wow, my best friend died. Now I'm going to take life more seriously. I think if we share stories and share our experiences, we learn from each other and hopefully have those aha moments that are a little less severe.
I love that. Well, it's funny how we always casually throw around aha moments. Yeah. And then you have a giant aha moment. I mean, like how, if you don't mind me asking, like how deadly-ish, or, because obviously you beat it, but how bad of a wreck are we talking about here?
Oh yeah. So the police rebuilt the accident 50 different ways because it's actually an area that a handful of people have died. In Utah, you can pull a trailer behind the semis, and this section of the road is a big steep hill, so these semis lose speed. So all of a sudden, they're not going the same speed as the rest of the road, and it's a problem, obviously. And they tried to rebuild the accident 50 different ways and could not rebuild a scenario where I lived, let alone walked away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So clearly the accident involved a semi.
The accident involved a semi and my car. I went end over end 3 times. Then once I started losing that momentum, I started rolling sideways. And then I ended up in the median hanging upside down from my seat. A person came running. They pulled back the windshield. And he's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I don't even know, but looking at your face, I don't think so. So I didn't want to look. I was so afraid to look. And so I closed my eyes and I wiggled my fingers and toes. And I remember like the first thing I said is, I can feel my fingers and toes. I can feel my fingers and toes. I'm okay. I can feel my fingers and toes. And that was like that. I'm like, okay, I'm okay. The ambulance came. They took me to the hospital just to make sure there wasn't anything else wrong. I was released from the hospital a few hours later. I went home. I was the only person injured in the accident. And to be honest with you, I didn't have anything wrong, except 3 weeks later, I started getting a fever. So then I went back to the hospital, and then the fever spike would go away. And then 3 different times. And then finally, the third time, They're like, I had red spots on my chest. And we realized that the seatbelt pressure had cut my breast implant, but I had the gummy bear type of implant, not the saline one. So it's not like I had a flat
Oh,
tire.
yeah.
Right. And so then I had to get,
So that was leaking.
it was like, yeah, it was like crumbling or whatever. It was kind of it was gross. They had to like comb it out and da 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 da.
Oh,
But the
Lord.
reality is I got a new lease on life, a new car, and new boobs. Like, what else can you ask for?
We have some friends who have some modifications and
Upgrades.
she upgraded her old ones like yours to the new ones with the saline, and then she was complaining about back problems, and then she just redid them the same way, and I'm like, oh, I thought you're, I don't know, I don't get involved. I'm like, okay, as long as you're happy. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, I've had like, I'm always tight in certain muscles, and I had a massage therapist say, the only real way to get rid of this is to shrink those. I'm like, we'll keep the problems we have. Thank you.
That was basically her. She's like, I got used to it. I kind of like it.
Yeah, we're good.
And her man, my buddy Steven, I was like, dude, he goes, well, I'm that kind of guy. I was like, oh, well, she did it for you then. He goes, yeah, you keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
But wow. Okay. That's some scary crap. End over end. What can I ask what kind of car that was?
Yes. Thank God. It was a Porsche Cayenne.
Those are, yeah, they can handle it.
They're super safe, especially, they're super safe if you're in the driver's seat. They use a Formula One version of airbags. So you have airbags blow in every direction and kind of like cocoons you like an egg. And they when they came, they said, there's no way there's a human alive. And then the ambulance said, well, it is a Cayenne, so there's potential if there's a driver. And I was the only one in the car, thank God. And because
I was just saying, thank goodness none of your children were in it. I mean, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
See, there's a lot of blessings there. It's a lot of things you can be like, okay, well, there could have been this. So.
Yep, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I do know for a fact that a buddy of mine has one of those, and I remember him telling me because another friend of ours was comparing his Volvo to that, and the Volvo SUVs are really safe too. They're like,
yep.
Again, most modern high-end SUVs are all doing that now. That full like airbags from all different angles, just to protect you. So, thank goodness. So, wow.
I'm in. Yes. So and like the nice thing is that the police officer, when he called me to give me the update, he goes, honey, I would just buy that car for the rest of your life. That car saved your life. I'm like, you know what? I am so glad I was not in a Honda Civic. I could take that advice and I'll just buy this car for the rest of my life.
That's interesting coaching on that one.
Yes.
Well, that reinforces then your professional goals in business to keep hustling and getting the job done, so you can keep justifying those quality things in life. So I think a lot of us are guilty of that too. Like once you start succeeding, some people are afraid to reinvest in some of that. Other people just overspend in those areas. But if you have it and you're okay, and that makes you feel safer, and your family's safer, and your kids are safer, then go ahead and have something like that. So
right.
But so a lot of lessons from that. So I set a lot of things in motion. And clearly you got some resilience. You got the awakening, the lifestyle goals kind of came bubbling to the surface. So when you started hiking the 7 summits, did you already have the book in your head? Because
I didn't have the book in my head. Okay. I was on a walk. This is how life happens, right? Like life just gives you these little nudges, and if you're listening, they show up, and if you don't, they'll get louder or they'll pivot a different way. I was on a walk, and a neighbor about 4 houses down was the CEO of Franklin Covey. And so Franklin Covey's a big thought leadership thing. And he's like, you should write a book. I'm like, oh, okay.
Don't you love it when people say that? I mean, people told me the same thing. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
With all this extra time I have?
Yeah. Like you should write a book, and they make it sound like as if, make chicken for dinner tonight. You should write a book. Make chicken for dinner.
Throw a side of spinach. You're good, right? It's so easy,
1,000%. Okay. Yeah. The joke of the book is that it's titled Quit Proof. There isn't a day that I don't want to quit the darn project from the start. I'm like, well, I can't quit a book called Quit Proof. I got to keep going. I'm like, thank God I labeled it that, because otherwise this book would never exist.
Yeah. I think you and I can align on this, and hopefully the listeners hear this. Is like the hard things need to be attacked. They need to be figured out. That's where all the growth is coming from. Like I thought writing a book was one of the hardest things I ever did, and then I rewind and I'm like, wait a minute, what about critical training your rookie year to become a firefighter? Like that was that they literally beat the living snot out of us for like 2 weeks straight. It was very militaristic, but that's what hot shots are. It is the best of the best in wildland firefighting. So they're gonna run you through the ringer, and I got to experience that. So it's like you training for the mountains. You don't just show up. I mean, unless you have some weird genetic profile that can get like maximum oxygen exchange in your red blood cells naturally without any pre-training. But I tell people that all the time when I was hiking 14ers. I'm like, yeah, you don't just show up. It doesn't really work that well.
No, it will not. The universe will remind you very quickly that we are not meant to live at those altitudes unless we spend lots of time at those altitudes.
Yeah, and because again, I think most of your summits, well, again, it depends on the continent, right? Some of them were 19. Yeah. Logan's over 19. I'm looking at your website. Again, ladies and gentlemen, jenndrummond.com, because she actually defines all the 7-second summits for you. So it's very nice. Kenya was 17. Gora was 17. Ooh, I got to get down to Argentina. That looks amazing. Which one was your favorite? That's 22. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what one's your favorite? What one's your favorite kid? I like different ones for different reasons. I liked Mount Tyree because it was the one that we had the least beta on. That's the one that's located in Antarctica.
Oh, so it's more challenging.
It's more challenging. You don't know what you're getting into. You don't have a lot of notes on it. It's only been summited by about 20 people. So,
oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then the year before that we went, it was closed because of COVID. But the year before that, the North Face team went and they didn't summit. So then you're like, oh, what's going on here? Like, I want to see this. This is challenging. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
I dig that because I think that's part of the adventure, right? I mean, granted, all of these are an adventure. It doesn't matter. I mean, but you're right. Whether it's Arctic, the Arctic or Antarctica, it's very unknown. We don't know what's going on. And well, if you're going to hit all the summits and all the continents, you got to get down there. So.
No, you do. And it's like, the whole thing's interesting. Like even getting there is fascinating because you fly into Punta Arenas, Chile, which is the southernmost point of Chile. And then they can take a 737, I think. I might have that wrong. 737, 747. It's not a 757. One of those planes, because it's big enough where it takes 3 hours to fly down. And they land in Antarctica, there's no runway, there's no control tower, there's no lights guiding the plane down. So the plane has to have perfect sun to be able to have a shadow, to know its depth, to know how to like land on the ice. And if for some reason in the flight plan that you're going down there happens to be a cloud that shows up, so now it can't land, there's enough fuel for that plane to turn all the way back and go to Chile without refueling.
Yeah, that sounds like an adventure.
Yeah, so that's an adventure, right? And then you're there, and like it was interesting. You had to step on antibacterial mats because they didn't want your shoes or anything to bring any kind of bacteria down to the ice. We peed into these containers because they wanted to take all like body waste and everything off Antarctica and bring it back to Chile. I mean, it was just, they're super conscientious of how they're taking care of that environment, which I respect 100%, but it's stuff you don't think about till you're there.
I never heard those parts. I get a kick out of stuff. I'm always like reading up or listening to adventure stuff like that. I'm like, I didn't realize they were keeping that continent that pristine and clean.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It is.
Wow. That sounds like a lot more logistical planning. So you must obviously had a good group to train with and get you there. So
I did have a good group training this. I have a funny story about this mountain. So I'm climbing Mount Vinson first, which is the highest point.
That's one of your training mountains? Or
it's a training mountain in Antarctica. So we first flew down to Vinson, and Vinson's a lot easier than Tyree. So even though it's higher, we're training on that one to just get our bodies ready. And I get terrible blisters, because it's like a different movement pattern with skis and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. Anyways, somehow radio gets back to base camp, and then back to, they call into Chile. And they said, hey, when's the next plane coming down? Is there any way we can send new boots down for Jenn? And they're like, well, hey, Elon Musk has a private plane going down there for something or another with some very big names in mountaineering. We can throw a pair of boots on this plane for her. So these boots get flown onto like Elon Musk's plane. They land at base camp, and everybody's like, Cinderella, we have your boots. Where are you? And it is like, of course, somebody from Elon's team is hiring like the top names in the industry, which I won't name. And so it's like everybody there is already goo-goo-eyed over these movie star of mountaineers. And they're like, here's your boots.
You get hand delivered a new pair of boots by some of the top mountaineers in the world.
Exactly. It was awesome.
And
they got privately flown down on an airplane.
Okay. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
See, that's the fun. You don't know what's going to come out of these crazy trips. Like,
right.
All these years later, would you expect, well, not all these years later, but these couple years later, would you expect to be joking around about boot delivery?
Right. Exactly. Or I'm going to tell you, if anybody gets into mountaineering, which it's kind of a big sport in the Middle East, right? Like climbing these mountains is a big deal. If you can get on a team that has a prince or a princess from one of these Middle Eastern countries,
oh, sure,
that's the team you want to sign up with. I'm just letting you know right now.
Because they're recruiting, they can afford to recruit top people, or
they have top people. And like when we climbed Mount Everest, there was a day like we like the big storm came in and everybody was kind of sick of being at base camp and blah 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 blah. The princess flew in hamburgers and pizzas from Kathmandu, so we had real food at base camp one night. Okay. And I'm like, this just
the royal experience. The royal experience.
I get right about this. This isn't my life. This is magic.
Well, again, I never would have been, I guess it wasn't Cape Town, whatever that cliffside community is outside of Cape Town, all these really high-end like cliff built homes. But when we went down there, I was like, where are we going? She's like, oh, it's this girl's grandmother. I was like, okay. And I pull in, and we're like, you pull off the cliff road onto the roof of a building. Like it's built below you into the cliffs.
Right, yeah, you walk down. Yeah.
No, you don't walk down. Then the security meets you in this glass secure chamber with an elevator integrated into it. And then you go down under escort. Awesome. And I'm like, what, where are we staying? And we walk down the hall and they let us in, and it is wall to wall white marble, like everywhere, going up the walls, on the floors. And then like, it's the end of the day. The sun has just set and I can hear the ocean. I'm like, I just walk across straight to the balcony, and I'm like, there's cliff waves are crashing beneath me. And I'm like, okay, this is a little impressive. And then the security guy's like, you all set? He's like, well, the caretaker will swing by tomorrow. And I'm like, there's a caretaker? Okay. And then he's like, I don't believe the rest of the family is supposed to be coming. I'm like, okay. But he's like, if I do, he's like, that's the other 6 units. I'm like, there's 6 more? It's like, again, you don't know until you book a trip and you're chatting with people. Next thing you know, a friend or a colleague, it's like, oh, you should go stay here, hook up there. It adds to the adventure. Awesome. So
it is. It's the adventure.
Yeah. And then I got to teach the caretaker woman how to make an espresso, because while we were there, and a brand new espresso machine was delivered, and she kept trying to do our laundry. And I'm like, I don't need you to do anything. I'm good. Thank you. And it's like, there's a drought in Cape Town right now. I don't want to be using your precious water. I was like, thank you. And I was like, is there anything I could do for you? And she looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, no, seriously, just you name it. And then she's like, well, this machine has arrived. I don't know how to use it. If I know how to use it, I could be even a better service, to the owners. And I was like, happy to teach you. So for the next couple of mornings, I showed her how to make all the different types of lattes and stuff, because I love coffee. And again, it adds to the story,
Right. 100%.
Experience.
And those are the things we remember, the crazy moments. Yeah. Yes.
But so now here's a funny question. 7 kids. Let's tie it all back in. So clearly mom's crazy or inspiring? Because you did kind of hint that once you did this, you were hoping to motivate and inspire your children to be like, oh, mom's awesome. How did that end up? Is it crazy? Where are we at?
It ended up awesome. And
Okay.
here's how it ended up awesome. Anytime you're doing, I tease about it. Big mountains take big teams.
Hmm.
Big goals in our lives take big teams to make these goals happen. One of my first mountains I was going to be gone for a while was Everest, right? I was going to be gone 3 to 4 weeks,
Yeah.
even though I had a chamber at home to like train in to try to mimic the environment. So, because a lot of people go to Everest for 8 weeks. Like I do not have 8 weeks. We need to dial this back as much as possible. And so I went to the kids' school and I told the teachers, hey, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to go climb Everest. Grandma's coming. The nanny's here. I just wanted you guys to know. So maybe you gave a little more grace to my kids and I'll be back. Here's what's going on. And one of the teachers said, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Let's do a What's Your Everest campaign at the school. Why don't you come in, teach the kids about setting a big goal. And then while you're gone, we're going to have this huge mountain in the front entryway of the school. We'll put a little hiker up there because I had a Garmin tracking device. So then the school could track where I was and what was going on.
And you still have that program in your website. I saw that. You and I were talking about that. It's super cool.
Yeah. And then I could call in from base camp and did some Zoom calls with the classrooms because there's Wi-Fi at Everest Base Camp. And so they're asking me like, what did you eat? Where'd you poop? All the things that kids ask. And so while I'm gone, my kids are so loved on because people are asking how their mom is, how exciting, this is wonderful, blah, 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 blah. And then when I summited, it's like I summited for all those little kids, right?
That's
It wasn't
super
just
cool.
me at the top. It was this whole community that made this whole thing possible at the top. And I came home and my kids were like, yeah, my mom climbed Everest. And the little kids would come over after school and they're like, I want to climb Everest someday too. And I'm like, I'll coach you. I'm here to help. That's amazing. And when we do things that excite us and we share it and other people are allowed to be a part of that pursuit, everybody wins. Everybody wins.
I like that because it reminds us that sometimes you can't do everything by yourself, right? But it also reminds us that there is a lot of power behind, allowing people into your life and the community aspect and that growth from that, because there's a lot of things that if you don't have that or allow that in, you have a higher chance of crashing and burning, right? Like in a bad way. And a lot of people, when I set my hiking trips on the 14ers, that was just a personal goal. Actually, my very first 14er trip, I did 2 14ers in the same day because I learned you could do that. And if it counts, if you drop enough, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did Bierstadt and Evans when I was living in Colorado because those 2 together in the same day counted. And people are like, way to set a goal. I'm like, to be fair, I haven't done the second summits like you have. So I was like, okay, back then it was exciting, but I did it for myself and I didn't really need a ton of extra support because I'm pretty independently inspired. But these level of trips you're talking about, these are not small trips. Like everybody thinks that Everest is the hardest mountain out there. It's actually not at all. So, I mean, actually, are most of these ranked higher than Everest? It's just not as popular names. Okay.
Yeah, right. See, the thing with Everest and K2, like K2 is way harder than Everest for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But the difference of those, like say those 2 mountains and then put me on Mount Logan as the one that I just did, is you have these huge teams that, I mean, when I climbed K2 and Everest, I didn't have to set up a tent. I didn't have to melt water. I didn't have to decide what way to go. The ropes were set, the tents were set. Somebody was there to melt my water and help me make my food and all those kinds of things, which helps. Like it makes that climb 1,000 times easier. When I went to Mount Logan, you get dropped off by a plane. You have all your gear strapped to you or a sled that you're pulling with your skis. Every day you have to set up the tent. You have to build an igloo around the tent so the wind doesn't rip the tent apart. You have to melt water. You have to pack up all your gear, ski to the next spot. And I mean, it is so much work. You have to decide, okay, is it good weather to go in? Or if we get caught in bad weather, what happens? And on Mount Logan, no one's tested the ground and you're on a huge glacier. So every step you're taking your ski pole and you're going to the left of you, to the center of you, and to the right of you. And you're hoping that that pole gets rejected when you try to drab it into the ground, because then it's strong enough for you to take another single step forward.
Yeah.
And then you do it again. left, center, right, step, left, center, right, step for, I'd say 15 or 16 miles.
Impressive.
It's
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Now,
So it's just a different game. It's
my
entirely
wife and
different
I are
game.
such huge skiers. We purposely wait for those. Well, for years it was they're called Warren Miller Entertainment. He was one of the first guys to build these epic, backcountry
Amazing
ski
ski
trips,
movies,
and
yes.
yeah, skiing K2 and places like that. These guys are nuts. But that's what we look forward to every year because of those. You see that when they really plan the legit trips, you can see that if you're really paying attention to, like, oh, that's not all just turnkey.
Right.
They're actually having to do all that. They're just not putting maybe all of it on video for you to see. So
right, because you'd be bored out of your mind. You'd be like, who does this? Yeah, when we were training for Mount Logan, we went to Valdez and went heli skiing in Valdez first, just to get used to all the skiing. And they were doing some Warren Miller stuff over there when we were there.
I love, they ended it this past year.
Yeah.
I mean, I was worried about that once Warren had passed away. He left behind such an amazing legacy, but he was so tight with the whole crew down in Patagonia and everything else. I thought they would keep that going, but whoever bought it decided to kill it off. It's a shame because that's a legacy brand.
I know.
It's kind of like what you're doing too. It's kind of funny because we're getting closer to the end of the show, and something that I stood out to me when I was reading your bio and your background is there's a word legacy in there. And after years of podcasting, and then kind of my inspiration when I put my book out was I realized that, one, I've already agreed, right? What's going to light your heart on fire? Live for today. Don't, if a trip normally would cost $15,000, but you could find a budget version to do it for $5,000, at least do the $5,000. Like my wife's parents finally went to Africa last year. We beat them there years ago. Now, granted, they're retired and they were smart with their, investing and everything else. And her father's a former CFO. He's all numbers. And yeah, they probably spent 15 grand a person to do that safari trip. And I'm sure it was very, very nice.
Right.
We didn't need that. We're younger. I was like, yo, more reason for us to go do this and simplify it and do things differently. But in your own bio, I like it because it says, I'll just cut right to that section. You spend more time, inspiring others to create, thriving business as, and lasting legacy of their own. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I'm only 46. I'll be 47 next month. But I was like, dude, all of a sudden legacy in the past 2 years, especially for me, I think doing the book unlocked that next little hallway in my brain. And I was like, because for years, as I keep bringing these shows to the close, I always ask people like, hey, what are some final words you want to leave behind? And this is just to kind of get you prepared. But then I started flipping and I said, wait a minute, what is the legacy that we're leaving behind? What is a legacy message you want to leave people? And is that part of where the book came from too, right? Obviously beating death from a car accident, hiking amazing epic mountains, realizing you're capable of doing so much more than you ever fathomed years ago. But I can't help but fast forward that connection. Like, I feel like that legacy component is totally tied to the book as well.
It is 100%. I mean, the reason why I named the book Quit Proof, 7 strategies to build resilience and achieve your life goals, is because these things that light your heart on fire, they're what you're supposed to bring to the world. But if you cannot be resilient in their pursuit, then all of a sudden we all miss out because we're not you. We can't bring what you can bring to the world. So it was very important for me to highlight, like, hey, here's how you build resilience. And you need to build resilience because we need you to do you. Because by doing you, you benefit all of us. And that was the point of the book. And I'm hoping that people read it and they find ways to not put their lives on hold. They find ways to choose to live because we do not know when death's going to strike.
It's very, very true. I mean, I remind people all the time, like I planned my proposal to my wife on a skydiving trip, and people were like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, well, I was like, many things. But I was like, dude, if you're going to do something, man, just go all out.
Yeah.
And have fun, be motivated by it, be inspired by it, whatever it may be. This is why everything I do nowadays, thanks to just those couple of years of firefighting, everything I got to do is got to have some fire tied into it, because it's like, why else are we on this planet? I mean,
Right.
hopefully each person realizes we could be doing something positive, leaving something positive behind. In your case, you did it times 7. You know,
Yeah.
there's a
I believe
huge,
in abundance. Okay. I believe in abundance. There
I
you go.
mean,
We have a lot of abundance.
bloodline legacy, well established.
Well established. Yes.
But then there's like, again, you know, saying, hey, I didn't die in that car crash. What else could I do? Hey, let's go hike some mountains. Let's inspire my children. And all of that, you never quit. I mean, and then
Yeah.
writing a book, dude, I'm with you. Writing that book, one of the hardest things I ever did.
Yeah.
And then you finish writing it, you realize that's not the hardest. It's editing.
It's editing.
What's up with editing?
Right. You're like, and it's layout. You're like, oh, I don't know if I want this font or this size or that spacing.
Yeah.
There's so many decisions.
I hired a great editor. And now she started a production business thanks to that too. But I was like, she was phenomenal. Shout out to Hillary. And I told her, you better hold me. I was like, hold my feet to the fire. I was like, text me and tell me to just get it together. I don't care. I was like, I'm that guy. Just push me. And she was awesome for that. And again, she did a great hand holding on the editing, but she's like, in the end, Scott, she's like, it is your story. She's like, I can only edit so much. And so I'm sure that's probably with you. I mean, this is everything that you bring into the table and everything that you're trying to help others with from thanks to your experiences. There's only so much editor can do. Like if they don't understand the vernacular you're using, you know, there's terms that I learned serving as a wildland firefighter that aren't in the normal business world. So tying all that together for people in my book, I'm sure you're probably tossed out all kinds of mountaineering lingo, you know, because it was a part of your life for a while.
Exactly. Well,
this is awesome. So are you, I gotta ask, is there a top favorite chapter or two that when people hear this, they should just take a little note when they get on the pre-order list?
Yeah. I don't know yet because I'm waiting for them to give it back to me exactly how it lays out. I do really like the section where it's plant your flag. Like that's one of my favorite sections because I feel like we always want to wave our flag at the top of the mountain. And when we learn to wave our flag wherever we are on our mountain, that gives people a clue on how they can help us and how we can help them.
I like that.
And I think it's really important for us to always be waving our flag, even in failure, even in success, even when we're acclimatizing or doing whatever. That allows the world to know, like, here's where I am. And then it gives the world a chance to help respond and react. And I think that's probably one of my favorite lessons because I'm learning to live that lesson every day myself because it's way fun to wave them at the top. It's not fun to wave them where it's like, hey, this isn't working out.
I love it. That's super cool. Well, technically you already left some legacy words prior to this, this last little quick chat on the book and favorite chapter thing, but was there anything else you wanted to leave behind for the audience?
My guiding principle in life is I don't get to choose when I die, but I sure get to choose how I live. And if you just check in with yourself every day, am I choosing how I want to live? And if you make little adjustments towards that more and more, you're going to be happier and more authentic and just be shining as who you're supposed to be.
I love that. Well said.
Thank you.
See, I knew you're going to be a fun co-host today. All right, hang tight. I'll give you a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, jenndrummond.com. It is that easy. So, but again, Quit Proof is already up on Amazon for pre-order. I tried adding it to my Amazon influencer page and you cannot add it until it actually exists. So I had to put that in my calendar before we started the show today, Jen. So, because I'm not committed to my fellow authors out there. So ladies and gentlemen, 7 strategies to build resilience and achieve your goals. If that inspires you, it motivates you, then get on the pre-order list and get Quit Proof. And if in the meantime, go check out the website. You want to learn about the mountains? She's put everything on there. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. Jen helped us do that today. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, you too can live the fuel. We'll talk to you guys again soon.